I think the more we discuss it, the greater the opportunity for this to, you know, if you like, by a process of osmosis, get into the public domain. For sure, all of the institutions of the state, we've had the church, we've had the defence forces and Garda Síochána, the judiciary themselves, the legislature, of whom there are some members in. Every aspect of our society has come under extraordinary scrutiny in recent times. So our society is in a period of flux, and there are some people like Jeremy Farrager, like Fintan, who do that very unusual thing of describing us as we are at the moment. So we're in that period of flux, and in that environment, I think there's the more we talk about it, even introducing into the language terms like whistleblower, reprisal, I think it may very well empower people and embolden people to speak out. And I would have to say that I mentioned at the beginning that this has been going on for me for 10 years. I had an issue a year and a half ago where there were certain people who tried to prevent me, you know, doing my job as a journalist. And I went to the NUJ for help, and they referred me to Seamus Dooley, the General Secretary of the NUJ, and I'm very happy to say he got it immediately. I didn't have to explain it twice. He understood immediately what the issue was about bullying. And he said to me, this is Dublin, this is not Beijing, we're going to support you in this. And the issue was, in part, resolved. 10 years ago, I don't know if the dynamic that you're describing, that cultural resistance towards speaking out and being frank and being open, I don't know if there would even have been a formula of words to describe it, but I think we are moving in the right direction. And again, for fear of sounding like a broken record, that's why I think this initiative and the concept of whistleblower protection is very, very important.
Can I just say one comment from Leo, and then I'll come to you, and then we're going to have to close up, I'm afraid. So.
Thanks very much, Leo, for asking my name. Fintan. First of all, apologies. The Director of Corporate Enforcement is coming into the committee at 2 o'clock, so I'm going to leave you, but I just really wanted to say 3 things. I suppose, first of all, having been involved a little bit with the FOSS issue, that I and my party do understand the important role the whistleblowers play, and we would not know a lot about that if it wasn't for some very brave people who weren't treated very well and who did blow the whistle on those issues. Secondly, that I very much endorse the report, and third, that the party will produce a whistleblowers bill during this session to extend across-the-board protection to whistleblowers, and we'd be happy to give Transparency International a draft of that before it's published. Thank you.
Just hang off the mic. We'll just get to you in 1 second. And I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it at this because we're at our deadline. So I'd like to want to come back to the panel.
I'm one of the 6 people who got the inquiry into swimming.
Yeah.
2 survivors and 4 of us. There was no accountability in swimming. They just changed the name to Swim Ireland. And all these people that covered up are attacking me for the last 16 years and my family. And they attacked other people's family, put them out of swimming, got them sacked out of jobs. I was barred from a club, the first person to be barred in 20 years in the club. My name went up on the wall and I was barred. I'm an old docker too, just listen to you. Dockers are normally barred out of pubs. I've been barred out of 3 swimming pools. And going to Galway, I like going to Galway. I'm always safe. I get a police escort in and out. And 2 policemen standing outside the hotel where I am. So, as I say, I was just handing out pamphlets down in Galway. Is your child safe in swimming? And I was arrested. But we're talking about Gibney. I wrote to the Minister for Justice about Gibney. He brought Conrad Gallagher back for 2 water paintings, and he can't bring him back for 7 rapes. Where do we go from here? Thanks.
Thanks very much. We have to bring this to a close, unfortunately. I'm going to hand back to John. Can I just very briefly say a couple of things? It seems to me to be absolutely clear from all the contributions people have made that we're talking about, on the one level, a very, very wide process. We're talking about a process of nothing less than really quite profound cultural change. We need a society in which people feel that they have the right to speak out. We need a society in which the organisations in which people do speak out see those people as an enormous resource and as people to be treasured and people to be valued rather than as people to be isolated and abused. We need a society in which the culture of impunity that was mentioned at the back ends, because ultimately there's no point in people speaking out if action doesn't follow. If you end up with exactly the same people in charge and with the culture essentially protecting itself, as we've seen in Ireland, the capacity of institutional cultures to protect themselves is absolutely extraordinary. And we do need a much broader process of reform in terms of freedom of expression. And I've a lot of sympathy for my friend here, but in terms of coming to journalists and saying, why don't you write about all this stuff? Very often we cannot write about vast areas of things because it is simply impossible within the Irish framework of freedom of expression to do so. And I know it's very difficult for people to accept that sometimes, but it's a reality. So there's a much broader set of changes needed. But to actually have a piece of legislation which recognised, honoured, and gave protection to whistleblowers would itself be both, I would suggest, a catalyst and a real change in itself. It would be a real change in itself in that it would at least be some kind of fruit of the crisis we're going through, that we would recognise that we have to have quite a profound cultural change as a society in terms of the way we deal with all of these things. But I think it also might be a catalyst for broader change, because of course, if you do liberate and empower the whistleblowers, you end up getting a much clearer and much more truthful version of what the society you live in is. And I would suggest that until in the society we actually know the place we live in, we're not going to be able to change it in the way it needs to be changed. Thanks very much. Just hand back to John.
Thanks, Fintan, and thanks to our guests. I don't think the microphone is working, is it? Yeah, thank you as well for coming today, and thanks to people who spoke from the floor. Again, I'll point to the work that we're doing and we plan to do in response to some of the questions raised. With European Commission funding, good point. With European Commission funding, we do hope, with the EU support, to establish what's known as an Advocacy and Legal Advice Centre later this year. It may help, we can't promise, but it may help in overcoming some of the legal obstacles that some whistleblowers and witnesses face in bringing cases into the public domain, if only to highlight the issues that they raise rather than the specific points. We can't do everything, but we'll do our best to help those who are speaking out in the public interest. This report will be online, the national report. We have some copies here, but will be online later on today. The meeting, the video of this meeting will be online, be both on YouTube and our website. And it's part of a consultation. We'd like to be able to work with both political parties, the private sector, non-profit organisations, and hear from the public and anyone who has an interest in the issue. Above all, though, to get the work that we need done, we need your support, and I'd ask you to visit our website, give us a call, and think how best you can support TI. And thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you anon. Many thanks. Bye-bye.